Okay, for some of you, you have virtual machines that are named different things, either folders or virtual machine names or the computer names. Let me sort of show you what's happening. When you go to create a new virtual machine, I create a new virtual machine, and I'll just go through these first steps as make a difference. It's right here that you end up with two of the names that you're running into. The first one is the virtual machine name itself. So I could name this Bob, and I could put it in a folder called, let me get over here, make a new folder called, I don't know, Sally. And I go through and create a machine. My virtual machine name is Bob. And everything I referred to up here is going to be Bob because that's what I named the virtual machine. Realize, though, that it is in a folder called Sally. So if you're looking for it, it's like, oh, that's on my H drive. It's underneath Sally. But all my files are Bob. Here you can see, for example, where I didn't choose a single file. I made a bunch of other ones. Side note, unrelated to the topic here, but just want to show it as well. So that's where you run into an issue. Now, I could rename this. This is just a folder. This is a container. You can do anything you want with this. I could rename this Bob if you want, and then it kind of matches. The problem is, what if I wanted the whole thing to be called Larry? I could rename the Bob folder to Larry, or it's an alternate spelling. Old English. But I can't rename these Larry. That would be horrible because these files are all linked together and have references to each other and have to know about each other. So if you just went in there and renamed the files, it would not work. Always work with the folder as a whole. So if I wanted to copy this somewhere, I copy the folder. If I want to delete it, I delete the folder. We don't do anything inside. But that leaves us with an inconsistency of folder names and file names. I did it actually with a running machine. So on a virtual machine also, I have one called Windows Server 2016. And that is the file names. And in the same, it's in a Windows 26, I'm sorry, let me back up. Windows Server 2016 folder.
Really fast.
And so that's my Windows Server 2016 files. This is referring to, it just happens to be in this folder. It doesn't matter renaming it or whatever. Inside the virtual machine though, oh, not Bob, inside Server 2016, if I go to sconfig, my computer name is DC2. So your computer name, if you're thinking of a virtual machine, the computer name is what the virtual machine thinks it is. The rest are just files. So it doesn't really matter that you have them named Windows Server 2016 because nothing references that except VMware Workstation just to know what files to launch and load and how it connects and all that stuff. So DC2 is the most important. The setting inside the virtual machine is the most important. Say that just really bothers you though. So it's like, man, I made a mistake. I put it in the wrong place. I didn't want it to be there. You have a couple options. One of the easiest is to do what's called a cloning of a virtual machine. So I'm going to shut down the server. And say I really wanted this to be called DC2 file name and in a DC2 folder. The virtual machine's already called DC2, so I know that's set, so I don't need to change anything inside the virtual machine, just sort of the files that are associated with the virtual machine. So one of the ways you can do it is in the 2016 server right now, I can go to VM. By the way, if you get more tabs across here, your VM menu disappears, and it ends up being under the workstation menu, so it's kind of a side menu then, but you still have the normal menus. If you start closing some of these, it should eventually come back. Here we go. So I can have the VM menu up here, or it might be under workstation, then VM coming down the side. So I just hope that doesn't throw people off. But anyways, underneath VM, I can go to Manage, and I can go to Clone. And cloning is taking all the contents of a virtual machine and putting it someplace else. So I start the clone process, and it's taking the current state of the virtual machine. So I already named it, I gave an IP address, I did all that kind of stuff. I could, if I wanted to, go back. Now this one doesn't have a snapshot, but I could go back to a snapshot. Do you remember taking a base snapshot, a base image snapshot? That's where this comes in handy as well. Before I start adding a bunch of stuff to it, I could build a brand new server based on that base image where I don't have all the junk added on top of it. Now this one I didn't take one prior to building this. I just kind of threw it out there. But I can take the current virtual state and I click next. Now I have two options here. This one's really important. I can have a linked clone or a full clone, and we want a full clone. We want our second machine to be a completely separate entity. What is pretty cool, though, if you wanted to, if you're doing just lots of testing and you need to build, if I need to build 15 servers and I knew I was going to keep them and use them for production, you can create linked clones so that one set of files for that first server is what all the rest of the servers are going to be accessing. Now, obviously, the files are going to be slightly different, and any changes then gets written to its own set of files for that second or third or fifth or 20th virtual machine. But that's the only thing that's written. So that whole 10, 20 gigabytes of an operating system is only on your hard drive once. So I've actually considered this, since we have small virtual solid state drives, of having them linked, because that would save a ton of disk space. It just gets a little confusing, though, if you decide to delete a virtual machine. Oh, I don't need that 2008 one anymore. If you linked off of it, none of the other ones will work anymore either. So we're keeping them separate now. So creating a full clone. And this is where basically what happened is you missed the step the first time, or part of the step, and this is where you can fix it. So I can now name it DC2, and this is what's going to name all the files and everything VMware references to is DC2, and then the second one is the location, and so now you can put it in the right folder. And I'll make a new folder called DC2, and I can see this is my virtual machine name. It's really easy to fly through these setup steps. Take your time, read the screens. Just be careful of what you're naming them and where you're putting them. It could be bad impact if you do it in the wrong place. Go ahead and click finish, and now it's going to clone it. It doesn't ask me about memory, it doesn't ask me about hard drive, it doesn't ask me about processors, anything like that, because it's taking exactly what was there before. So if I had 4 gigs before, I'm going to have 4 gigs of RAM again. The whole operating system gets copied over with the hard drives that were there. So it's just kind of a whole new machine. It is meant for spinning up a separate server, but it's also a means of renaming things. It's kind of a fix for that. So when it's all done, it's going to say that it's done. You can click close. And now you can see that I still have my old server and my new one. Before I do anything with my old one, I'll make sure my new one starts. It is copying files. Things can go wrong. So I power on this new machine. Going to log in with a Control-Alt-Insert. Log in with password. Password's incorrect. I see sconfig. It is DC2. That's all right. So let me go ahead and exit back to the command prompt. So I know this one's working fine. I can go out now and just close this tab. If this tab is open in VMware Workstation, even if it's not running, you can't do anything with the folders. So now that I know that's fine, I can so it won't be confusing. I can go ahead and delete the old one and get rid of it. Realize that when you delete things, even from your flash drive, it still ends up in the recycle bin on that drive. So you may want to, empty your recycle bin to get rid of that extra space. We have limited space on our portable drives, so I want to try to conserve it. So cloning can be used to just build a new computer, a new server completely, if you want to have additional ones. But in this case, it's used to rename the virtual machine name or the folder that we put it in,